Hey guys, in this lesson, we're going to talk about negations. Now, negations are going to take those conditional statements that you learned in last lesson, and we're going to change mostly just one little thing. We're going to add actually the word not. Okay, so if it does, a negation would mean that it does not. All right, so we're going to look at those. This is going to be straight negations. So there's a couple of things. We're going to identify and create inverse statements. So inverse statements just take that conditional statement and add the word not in there in both places. And then we're going to identify and create contrapositive statements. So we're going to take the converse. Remember, that means that you're going to flip the conditional statement, that hypothesis and conclusion. You flip that and you add not in both places. So in here, when we're talking about negations, make sure that you negate both pieces. And then we're going to identify the negation of a statement. So all of those things are going to be covered in this video. So if you still have questions at the end about these key concepts or these key points, make sure that you ask questions and get better clarification. So remember, with negation, we're going to add the word not, but we're actually going to add it twice. Okay, so it makes it, it changes it. So if it rains outside, then I will take an umbrella. So remember that this first piece is the hypothesis, and then the last piece is called the conclusion. So the hypothesis is if it rains outside, and then the conclusion is I will take an umbrella. So remember that the converse is just going to be to flip those two. So if I take my umbrella, then it is raining outside. Okay, so that's that converse, just a quick review from the last lesson. Now the contrapositive is going to take that converse where we flipped it. So if you can see that I wrote it in two different colors, and now I'm going to add the same word, but twice, the word not. So if I don't take my umbrella, then it is not raining outside. So just adding those two pieces there. So if I don't take my umbrella, then it is not raining. So that's one of the key things there for today that's new is a contrapositive. So that's that don't. So if I don't take my umbrella, then it is not raining. That's not always how that works out, but you know. All right, so the second example here we have if my dog goes to the back door, then I will let him outside. So then the inverse for this, so we just looked at contrapositive, that's a new thing, and now we're going to look at inverse. So for inverse, all I'm going to do is add the not pieces. All right, to the original conditional statement. I'm not changing anything. I'm not flipping the order, and I'm not only adding one. I'm not only just adding not to the hypothesis, it goes to the hypothesis and to the conclusion. So if my dog does not go to the back door, then I will not let him outside. Okay, so piece here. So if so just kind of wrapping this all together, I have a not in the conclusion and a not in the hypothesis. So if my dog does not go to the back door, then I will not let him outside. I'm writing those in capital letters. You might want to do that just to kind of sort of you can like see it. Okay, not and not. So anytime you see that. Okay, so what makes this kind of tricky sometimes is if you have a don't or a not already in the hypothesis or conclusion, or maybe even both. So that is where it can get kind of tricky. So let's look at this next example and final example. So what we have here, it says, if we don't have practice, then I will go to the movies with my friends. So obviously I have like a negation already in there. So it's like if I do not. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this piece here with do not. because I want to make sure that I mean, sometimes we don't read that, like can't or won't or whatever. So sometimes we don't see that not piece in there. So if we do not have practice, then I will go to the movies with my friends. The inverse. So remember the inverse, you do not flip the order. You just do not and not. So if we do not have practice, which means if we do have practice. So if there's already a not in there, you actually remove it. So the inverse is if we have practice, then I will not go to the movies with my friends. So if we have practice, then I will not go to the movies with my friends is where there's the inverse. Now the contrapositive is easy to go from here to the contrapositive, just like it is to go from the converse to the contrapositive. I think it's a little bit more challenging to go straight from the conditional to the contrapositive because you have to make them nots and you have to flip the order. So here we've already added the not pieces. Now I'm just going to flip the hypothesis and the conclusion. So if I do not, and I'm going to change that just because the English language, if I do not go to the movies with my friends, then I had practice. So that's how I'm going to rewrite that in that order. So the evidence piece there is were you at the movies or not? So if you were at the movies, then that means that you didn't have practice. And if you weren't at the movies, that means that you had practice. So what I want you to do with this challenge problem, that's going to be on you. If you want to kind of attempt this, work it out, see how well you know this before moving on to your skill check, or do you need to stop and take a quick practice, maybe even just a quick like vocab check on all of this. So do a little quick assessment with a challenge problem here and then move on to your skill check if you're ready.